What I don't like from the president's administration is this sort of, I'll put my boot heel on the throat of BP. I think that sounds really un-American in his criticism of business.
Wow, welcome back to Hardball. That was Rand Paul today calling President Obama's criticism of BP un-American. Reverend Jim Wallis disagrees with that characterization. He's become a lightning rod for the right because of his vocal support of the church's involvement in social justice issues. Reverend Jim Wallis founded Sojourners and served in the White House Advisory Council on faith-based and neighborhood partnerships. What administration were you with? Which presidency? This one?
This council.
Okay,
yeah.
let me ask you about this thing. If you destroy the habitat in which man was born, is that a moral issue?
We call it stewardship of God's creation. This is a mainstream issue for evangelicals, Catholics, Black Church, Maine, all of us. Protecting God's creation is part of our responsibility to be good stewards of what God has made.
And what's going on? Looking at these pictures, I mean, Ed Markey was on the chairman of the Energy Committee, 40 to 50,000 barrels a day coming out of that hole in the ground, which was created by man, not by nature. That's a pipe that brings that from way down below the surface to there, and we're watching it right now. I think we've been watching live streamings of this, but go ahead.
These things feel almost apocalyptic. I think it's a sign of our oil addiction. And Chris, as you know, we know addictions make your life not work. So this oil spill is showing how our oil addiction is making our lives not work. So we have to deal with this. And so for people of faith, this is a moral issue. It's a religious issue. It's not just a political issue here.
Do you think the president has been morally correct in letting BP take the lead and stopping that hell we're looking at right there?
Well,
he stands by and hectors them. But they're the ones responsible for fixing it. I don't know why all the submarines in our fleet aren't down there. It would seem to me that Captain Nemo back in the 19th century in fiction would have been able to get down there and fix it with soldering irons and blowtorches and filling up that pipe. Or with cement or gravel or whatever it takes to put on top of that, just start dumping it there with our big tankers. I don't know why we're not doing it. We're counting on one company, a British company, to solve a problem that's been created in our backyard, and I don't quite get it.
BP has to be held accountable to the common good, and any good Catholic would say that. And so what's happening here, that's why the Glenn Beck comments were so foolish.
Quote them.
Well, he's saying that Christians talking about climate change as a moral issue is implementing some kind of government socialist agenda. It's stewardship, not socialism. This is holding BP accountable to the common good.
He's always been wrong about climate change.
Well,
he's been wrong about this for years. I heard him in my car one day when he's on radio. He's been wrong. He's been saying there's no issue of climate change.
Well, does he think
completely
the oil spill's okay?
He's flack for the industry.
The government shouldn't regulate BP.
That's what they want to hear.
Government inspectors should inspect.
That's what these companies want to hear.
That they shouldn't let minors not get beer from liquor stores. I'm not sure what they're saying here. The common good is a good religious principle, and government should hold companies accountable to the common good. And you get faith groups saying that all across the political spectrum here. This oil spill is really apocalyptic. It mirrors our oil addiction. We have to do something about it right now, and that's what churches are saying. And that's just our responsibility to say this is for us protecting God's creation.
Well, one thing I agree, in fact, I might even trump you on, is I believe that mankind's interests are superior to those of the marketplace. I believe the marketplace is not the deity. That the belief in unbridled capitalism, whether it's Wall Street and assuming that they will do the right thing up there, or assuming that oil companies will do the right thing when they're following the market, the people on the right treat that as godly thinking.
The market's become God.
That's right. I don't accept
all-powerful, omnipresent.
Man must be responsible for his society.
The market's the means and not the end. It's become the end. Right. We've lost our way.
That's where we're at in this argument. And some Americans believe, even though they go to church and believe in God and believe in righteousness, have accepted the power and the trumping authority of the oil companies, of the investment houses in New York, of anybody who's out to make money, is somehow superior morally to anybody who might put a constraint on it, who might come along and say, clean up after you've been at your camping site. Clean up when you've gone to a wilderness area. Clean up after your pipe mess up. That's in the interest of society. Where does that come from? This idea that if you try to regulate bad behavior and punishment sometimes is somehow unchristian. Where'd that philosophy come from?
The market has
Who taught them that Ayn Rand was God?
Well, we've got now the gospel of Glenn and Rush and Sean and Bill, and I want to get back to the gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So how do you bring the market back into its boundaries? It's exceeded all its boundaries. So we have to rediscover values on Wall Street, Main Street, and R Street. That's what I've been writing about.
Let me ask you about this this debate as it goes on forward. What scares me is that we are going to have, I keep watching these pictures. I find them ghastly and you can't look away. What's going on right now is at 50,000 barrels a day into the Gulf of Mexico, which is now going around, apparently around the tip of Florida. It's heading up to Cape Hatteras. We are going to find ourselves with so much bad environment. It's not going to go away. And now, by the way, I wonder when the president or BP is ever going to stop this. I have no evidence to believe that they're going to stop it in the near future. Do you?
Well, they say BP is lying. I think it's deeper. I think what BP stands for is a lie. The idea that we can keep doing what we're doing without these consequences. We have to be converted to a different energy future. That means rewiring the grid, but it also means rewiring ourselves, our demands, our assumptions, our requirements. We have to undergo a change in our habits of the heart here. That's why this is a moral issue and not just a political one.
Well, you know, you may be getting further and deeper than I usually get here, but when I get up Saturday morning, I look out the window over to Connecticut Avenue, and I see people driving. They get up Saturday morning, they drive. It's not just going to work. People are always driving. And every time you turn on the commercial, you watch a car advertisement or a gasoline advertisement, it's about hitting the road. We are constantly driving cars and using up gas, okay? That's what we do in America. And that's why we go offshore, and that's why we have to dig deeper and deeper and further from shore, because we need more oil. You're saying that's a moral issue.
And could something like this energy spill, could the picture of it happening every day, and you're right, how much water will this destroy? How much of the ocean will kill?
I think
every day we watch that. Could it make us look in the mirror and say, do we want to keep living this way? Our addiction isn't working.
We need a teacher. And it can't be you. It needs to be presidents.
Our habits.
We need secular leaders to teach us a little morality on this, I think.
That's why the churches are saying to the government, hold us responsible.
And I don't think Glenn Beck has the godly truth. Anyway, thank you, Reverend Jim Wallis. By the way, your book's called Rediscovering Values. Thank you.